Howdy, y'all. Here we go. Here's the ARTLIFE that came in it. And my contributions to ARTLIFE are primarily pure art, but occasionally I would, collaborate with a writer. I did that on a few times, and then I did a kind of a long, serialized collaboration with a lot of writers. So I'm going to read the lead-in, which completely is the example of it. I'll show you it real quick. See, it's called Gas, Food, Lodging. And this was the second chapter. Creator and illustrator M.B. Hanrahan and editor Angie Young, who is also a contributor. Gas, Food, Lodging is a literary, quotes, exquisite corpse, unquotes, a novelette featuring 13 authors who, in supreme surrealist tradition, were given only the title, character names and their genders, and the last paragraph of the preceding chapter on which to base their writing. I came up with the characters and then I illustrated them each issue, which obviously it was 13 different issues in a row. This project was instigated and illustrated by M.B. Hanrahan and will be published in serialized form in ARTLIFE. In the first chapter, we were introduced to Vagabond, Chevron, and Room 9, and left off with R9 asleep, leaving Vagabond and Chevron together with a Bible of all things. Enjoy. So then you turn the page and there'd be more illustrations, and then the chapter was in an envelope with the name of the author on it. And in this case, total nepotism. I hit my dad up, who was a professional writer, because he's dead now, named Jack Hanrahan. So I'll read you the end of chapter 1 and then what he wrote. End of chapter 1. R9 had passed out as Chevron and I watched the television without the sound. The sounds of the world weren't loud enough to hear over the radio, but I could see the shadows of traffic passing us by. Perhaps it would. I closed my eyes and flipped through the Bible and settled on a page. Putting my finger randomly on the open pages before me, I opened my eyes and read the passage at which I pointed. It said, quotes, Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made healthy, and I took up his bed and walked, unquote. Chevron and I looked at each other, and the idea burst upon both of us at the same moment. Giggling uncontrollably, we jumped up and whipped the mattress over, flipping poor, unsuspecting R9 onto the floor. A scream of surprised pain issued forth from the other side of the bed. It seemed that we flipped R9 onto one of my upturned spike-heeled shoes, and it caught him in the ribcage. He tore around the room after us as we bolted for and through the door. He chased us down the hall and down the fire exit stairwell. Our laughter turned to panting breathlessness, and we led him on a merry chase out through the lobby and into the busy street. It was only when we completely ran out of breath that the three of us ended up in a dog pile across from our temporary abode in the small park. The derelicts and winos hovered therein, pointing at us as if we had landed from Mars. We had done this irrational act prompted by the Holy Bible's admonition without thinking about the consequences of running around outside with nothing on but our skivvies and tattered t-shirts. The poor, hapless homeless surrounded us. They weren't dressed in much more, but nevertheless, several of them offered their tacky, patched, and worn overclothes. The one that got to us first had more than charity on his mind, as he insisted on wrapping his coat over my body, and his hands lingered a bit longer than necessary while he tried to button it over my breasts. Noticing that the coat had no buttons to button, I eased out of it, gave it back to the hapless donor with my thanks, but no thanks, and turned to see my companions doing somewhat the same. The three of us were about to go back to the tacky room and sort out our recent rash behavior, when the lights of the police car party hats washed over the scene. Before we had time to tell the cops that we were just fooling around, we were pushed against the side of the police car and cuffed and mumbled our rights and hustled into the patrol car. Things had definitely gotten out of hand, big time. Recriminations and denials started between R9 and myself, but we were both hushed almost immediately by Chevron, the ever-wise one, and the rest of the way to the precinct house we traveled in silence. 2 cops in the front seat, I'll give them Mutt and Jeff for names, were talking almost in whispers, and we 3 strained to eavesdrop, assuming that they were whispering about us and our imminent fate. As we approached the police station about a block ahead, the only thing I could dwell on was an almost overwhelming urge to pee. The decision to do so was almost taken from me as the car suddenly swung a U-turn and I was sure I would lose all bladder control. I didn't, and the moment passed when the cops pulled over on the side street, parked in front of a seedy, heavily curtained bungalow. The back door whipped open and the cop yelled, "Out and into the house, now!" We could do nothing but obey. "What now?" said both my companions' eyes. I shook my head slightly to say, "I don't know, but hang cool." I don't know where that attitude came from. I was anything but cool. Thanks for the opportunity, Joe.